Welcome to the scary dark room. Hey guys, tonight we step back into the damp, gas-lit streets of Victorian London, a city of soot-stained buildings, fog-choked alleyways, and watchful shadows. Tonight's tale is about a policeman who thought he was patrolling the streets for criminals, but instead found himself stalked by something far older, far darker, and far more relentless. Before we get deep into the story, take a moment to like and subscribe to the video. And tell me, what time is it where you're watching this? And what's your location? I want to know who is brave enough to listen to this in the middle of the night. The year was 1889. London was a restless city, wrapped in the aftershocks of the Ripper murders. Fear seeped into every corner, every market street, and every cobblestone. Policemen walked their nightly patrols with their lanterns swinging, boots striking hollow against wet stone, always alert, always listening. Among them was Constable Edgar Whitlock, a man of 36 with broad shoulders, a heavy mustache, and the sort of face that rarely showed fear. He had walked his beat for nearly a decade, through Whitechapel's twisting back lanes, along the foggy banks of the Thames, and through countless alleys where crime festered like rot. But in November of that year, his life changed forever. It began on an unusually still night. The fog was thick enough to blur the glow of gas lamps into pale halos, and the silence was uncanny, broken only by the faint drip of water from gutters and the distant clop of a horse's hooves. Whitlock's lantern threw a small circle of light across the mist, catching brick walls, iron railings, and boarded-up shop fronts. He felt the unease immediately, though he couldn't explain why. The street seemed emptier than usual, as if the city itself was holding its breath. He stopped in front of a narrow alley called Threadneedle Court, a place he usually passed without thought. But tonight, something tugged at him, an invisible pull. He raised his lantern and peered in. The alley yawned like a throat, damp stone walls glistening with moisture, refuse scattered across the cobbles. And there, just at the far end, he saw it. A figure, tall, still, and utterly black. Its outline was blurred by the fog, but it stood too straight, too motionless to be mistaken for a drunkard slumped against the wall. Whitlock narrowed his eyes. His instincts told him to approach, to demand the figure identify itself, but something deeper, older, urged him to step back. He called out once, his voice echoing against the brick. The figure didn't move. When Whitlock blinked, it was gone. His breath hitched. He swept his lantern back and forth, the beam chasing shadows, but the alley was empty. With a shake of his head, he turned back to the street and kept walking, though his boots seemed to fall heavier, his heart thudding harder in his chest. He told himself it was nothing, tricks of the fog, exhaustion, imagination. But as he continued his patrol, he felt it, a presence, something behind him. He turned sharply at one corner, lantern raised high, but the street was barren. Yet his ears caught the faint scrape of a footstep, perfectly out of sync with his own. His pulse quickened. Every time he stopped, silence returned. Every time he moved, he swore he heard the soft drag of something following. By midnight, his composure had frayed. He walked faster, eyes darting to every doorway, every shadowed nook. The fog pressed closer, swallowing sound. His lantern flickered once, dimmed, then steadied. And then, on the edge of his vision, he saw it again, the same figure, tall, featureless, darker than the night itself. It never moved, never advanced, yet always seemed to be waiting at the next corner, the next alley, the next bend in the road. Whitlock's skin crawled. It wasn't following him in a normal way. It was appearing as though it was simply already there, wherever he went. He hurried toward the nearest watch-post, his boots slapping wet stone. But no matter how far he went, the streets seemed to twist, folding back into one another. He passed the same boarded butcher's shop twice, then the same crooked lamp-post, then the same alley with the broken cart. Panic stirred in his chest. London's streets were a maze, yes, but he knew them better than most. Tonight, however, they betrayed him. The figure was closer now. It stood just a dozen feet behind him, framed by the fog, silent and faceless. His hand tightened on his truncheon. His mouth went dry. He spun fully around, lantern raised high, ready to confront it. The light washed over the stones, but the figure didn't vanish this time. It remained, unmoving, watching. Its outline seemed to ripple like smoke trapped in human form. Whitlock stepped back, heart hammering. And then the lantern went out. The darkness that fell was absolute. He lit a match with shaking fingers, its small flame sputtering in the damp. The alley stretched empty once more. No figure, no sound, just his ragged breathing and the sting of sulfur in the air. He relit the lantern, desperate for its glow, and staggered onward. By the time dawn bled into the sky, Whitlock stumbled back into his station, pale and trembling. He said nothing to the other constables. He knew how it would sound. Instead, he went home, slept through the day, and convinced himself he had imagined it all. But the next night it returned, and the night after that, each patrol, the figure appeared, always silent, always waiting, never approaching, yet never allowing him peace. His health deteriorated. He grew gaunt, sleepless, paranoid. His colleagues noticed his nerves, the way his eyes darted to shadows, the way his hands trembled. One asked if he'd seen a ghost. Whitlock nearly laughed, until he realized the word wasn't far from the truth. Weeks passed. Then, one bitter December night, Whitlock didn't come back from patrol. His lantern was found shattered in Threadneedle Court, glass scattered across the stones, flame long extinguished. His truncheon lay nearby, but Constable Edgar Whitlock was gone. Some claimed he fled the city, broken by the pressures of the job. Others whispered darker things, that the figure finally came close, that it no longer needed to wait, that Whitlock's shadow itself had been taken, because in the weeks that followed, several other patrolmen reported something strange. When the gas lamps guttered and the fog was thick, they swore they saw two shadows beneath their boots. One, their own, and one that didn't belong to them at all. If this story chilled you, don't forget to subscribe to The Scary Dark Room for more terrifying tales.